Hey everybody, it's Father Casey, the pastor of the Epiphany of Our Lord Church, and I welcome you once again to our YouTube channel, The Fourth Magi. Before I really get into the gospel of this week, the fifth week of Lent, I want to ask you, how has your Lent gone? Have you been able to accomplish the goals that you set at Ash Wednesday? The spiritual goals, like maybe you wanted to pray more, maybe you were going to, donate your time or your money to some charitable organization or to your parish maybe. Did you heal some relationships that needed to be healed? How did your Lent go? Pat yourself on the back, if you accomplished some goals, and if you didn't accomplish everything, or you just kind of fell flat on your face, or life happened and it just didn't work out for you this Lent, then you know what? Just don't worry about it, and keep working on it the next time, or continue after Lent, because these are all worthwhile things that we should be working on anyway. Which really does bring us into the gospel in this fifth week of Lent, our last week of Lent, because next week we start with Palm Sunday and Holy Week. In this week, Jesus is really centered on the idea that he has to die. He is in Jerusalem and he's going to die. He's going to be betrayed and he's going to be raised up. He's going to be crucified. And he's trying to speak in cryptic terms, but for those who have ears to hear, they will hear the message, or as he would say in other parts of the gospel. But he uses this one phrase, that if a grain of wheat doesn't die, it falls to the ground and die, it simply remains a grain of wheat. And it's a very interesting, powerful statement, because it's true. If a grain of wheat is on a table and left alone, it's simply going to remain a grain of wheat. But if the grain of wheat dies and is buried in the earth, it's going to flourish and produce more heads of wheat, an entire crop, eventually. And so the grain of wheat must die in order for others to be fed, essentially. And so if Jesus is to be the Messiah, he must die. But for you and for me, we must die as well. Not necessarily, a physical death, but as a Christian, we are called to die to ourselves in order to serve others. That's what it means to be a Christian. And so if you and I don't do Christian things like feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing to the naked, housing the homeless, being merciful and kind and just, then we're just another human being. But if we die to ourselves and live for others, then you and I are like the grain of wheat. We are Christians. We are like Christ who died for others. And so we have to ask ourselves, as we immediately approach the Holy Week, the Passion of Christ, and all the events that surround the passion and death and resurrection of Jesus, how are you and I living as Christians? Are we stale? Are we stagnant? Or are we living for others? Have we died to ourselves in order that we might live for others? Because that's what it means to be a Christian, a follower of Christ, a true disciple. So how are we doing? That's the checklist that we should be examining.